This stream is brought to you by Manscaped.com. Use the promo code NOINTRO for 20% off of the best razor you'll ever use in your entire life. The Lawnmower 4.0 skin-safe technology. It's scary taking sharp things down there, man. Don't be scared with the Lawnmower 4.0, man. I'm telling you, I use it all the time. I know that's gross that I put it on screen after I use it, but just deal with it, okay? Manscaped.com, 20% off and free shipping. Promo code NOINTRO. All right, so, Greg, I didn't get to talk to you about the end of the season and how Game 6 played out and how you feel about what you watched. So why don't you just give us that first?
It's been a while, man. Holy shit. I'm officially no longer having expectations for this team. We are as close to the Sacramento Kings of the Eastern Conference as I think any other team. I was 5 years old when the last time this team made the Eastern Conference Finals, DJ. And I'm losing my mind. It's gone. I don't care. I'm not going to expect anything good from this team until I'm proven otherwise. James Harden put on a masterclass playoff performance in Game 6. Truly just really went out there and worked his hardest, gave it his all, put up a lot of shots in the second half. And I just feel bad for Harden because he had a phenomenal season. His body looked like it was in great shape. And it just, at the end of the day, it's just he got really unlucky, man. Just some shots weren't falling. His dribble handling is the best I've ever seen it. He's definitely not falling off in any of the most important categories of the game of basketball. And I was kind of surprised at how quick he looked the whole time, too. And
hashtag sarcasm.
And I can't wait to sign him to a $400 million, 35-year contract.
Oh, my goodness. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. Hey, 123 people in here. Hit the like button. Thanks for joining us Lunchtime Live. Yeah, so speaking of James Harden, we traded Ben Simmons, somebody who refused to shoot in the fourth quarter, and we got in return a more expensive player who refused to shoot in the fourth quarter or the second half entirely. I was watching Heat Check on YouTube. By the way, guys, go to Heat Check on YouTube if you're not subscribed already. The guy has a breakdown of a couple of the plays, and the sequence where the fans really started booing James Harden was he went to Tyrese tried to pass the ball to him. He got totally beat, didn't come to the ball, and literally didn't run back on defense at all. Just walked, and then he came back down the floor and tried to dribble through three defenders and turned it over again, and the crowd got on him, and Heat Check broke that down. It's just absolute lack of effort. And some people are getting mad at me on YouTube because I've totally had enough, and I know it's only been 2 months, 3 months of James Harden, but I totally had enough, and I kind of went off. And I'm noticing now there are James Harden fanboys the same way there were Ben Simmons fanboys who will defend him to the end of the earth, and it's just weird to me because I saw a lack of effort on the court, and it pissed me off.
As it should. As it should. Oh my God. I don't even want to be and jump the gun here, but there's so much to talk about this upcoming Harden thing and the complications with it and everything going on here. But I'm going to let you ride the ship on this stream here before I say I'm the captain now and make this a 2 hour James Harden spiel.
The main thing that people deflect with is, the same thing they always deflected with Ben is that Joel played bad. You can't blame everything on James. They'll point to Tobias. They'll say Tyrese Maxey should have showed up, whatever. And I'm like, I agree Joel played bad. Joel Embiid is playing through injury. If you want to get on Joel Embiid or the idea of Joel Embiid and you're over it because he's injured every playoffs, that's fine. You have a right to do that. You can say, I'm done supporting Joel Embiid. The guy can't stay healthy. You're allowed to do that. But he was fighting through injury, and he was trying. To me, going 5 for 27 is better than going 0 for 0. If you're giving me effort and you're coming up short, I gotta respect it. There's a reason Philly fans don't boo Joel Embiid when he goes 5 for 27 with a broken face and a torn ligament in his thumb, because he's out there giving effort. This team wouldn't even sniff the playoffs without him.
No,
then
he
you
wouldn't
get
even be anywhere near it.
Then you get a guy coming in who's supposed to be a superstar who shot the ball twice in the entire second half of Game 6, and when Joel's out there with, half a thumb and a broken face, giving it his all, and it's annoying. And there he is in the chat. Rasan, man, thank you for the super chat. There's Rasan, the one who defends James Harden with his life. He's called the show plenty of times. When we first got James, and when James started to look bad, he called the show reassuring me that it's all going to be good and James will be better. And then I saw the playoffs happen. So Rasan isn't happy with me right now with the James Harden disrespect, but I just can't see how you could support what you saw in Game 6. And do you think James Harden's playing with an injury? That's the main another thing people keep saying, because I don't see him on the injury report. We know Joel Embiid's playing with injuries. It's listed. He's questionable every game. James isn't questionable. It's not questionable with hamstring injury, and then he plays, and we're like, okay, he's hurt. Why is he on the injury report if he has an injured hamstring?
My report here, my sources are because James Harden has never kept care of his body. Like, he's hurt because something that happened a year ago, and he just hasn't bounced back from it yet because he just never put in the time to care about himself, care about his body, be able to be among a top athlete in the NBA, because he's always been far too skilled to have to worry about it. Like, the thing with Embiid's injuries are every year in the playoffs, he happens to get hurt and people shit on him for it. But my thing is, like, at least one of the injuries is just a fluke injury. Like, yeah, he's getting hurt, but like, dude, he got absolutely whacked in the face. Like, he broke his face, dude. And then when Markelle Fultz broke his face and this happened and that happened, like, so much of it is a freak accident. But the thing with James Harden, dude, like, Embiid is playing better with currently a torn thumb and broken face than James Harden is a year removed from a hamstring injury. Like, there's such a huge difference. And the fact that, like, Harden didn't even try. Like, he didn't even attempt to be a good player in Game 6 is just, it's infuriating. It's truly everything that people hate about him, and he just immediately reverted back to his old self. And as much as I love James Harden, because I do, and I think he is a great player despite what he is now, I still think he is a premier passer and playmaker, but it just doesn't fit around Joel Embiid. It does a 20-second dribbler, ball-dominant guard who refuses to shoot off of a catch and shoot doesn't fit around Joel Embiid. Theoretically, the fit worked. The pick and roll still is among one of the better plays, more efficient plays in the NBA among any other guard center duo. But dude, in the playoffs, we cannot match up. We cannot put together Embiid with a guy who has never done anything, because the one knock against Embiid is he's never done anything in the playoffs. We can't put him together with a guy who is equally as unsuccessful in the most important time of the year.
So do you think James can get it together this offseason and come back and look more like, I don't see somebody reviving themselves at 33 years old with how many off seasons in a row, coming back overweight, then the hamstring injury, then his trainer saying he didn't get to work out this offseason. So there, to me, off the top of my head, there's 3 off seasons of not much working out for James Harden. I don't see him turning into a superstar in one off season at 33 years old. Do you think maybe he has to accept the fact that he's not one anymore and take less money?
Wouldn't it be that fun if it was that easy?
Would he take less money?
Dude, we're in a lose-lose situation, because James Harden either takes the 1-year extension, and that's a lot of money, and then we lose him, or sign him, which is both probably lose-lose generally. Or he signs an extension now, and it's for a max deal, which is just simply absolutely astonishingly horrible. He would never play up to a max contract right now. Or he does what Bobby Marks says every side should do and sign like a 5-year, $150 million contract, which and it would be front loaded, which means you would get paid more in the first couple of years than the last couple of years, which would honestly sound like the best case scenario. But still, DJ, are we going to throw willingly $150 million to James Harden, like this James Harden? I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. What I think is going to end up happening is he's going to go on a 1 year. He's going to pick up his extension, the 1 year, and he's either going to have a good year, better than this year probably, or he's going to just be like this year or worse, and we're going to be put in an extremely difficult situation next year, and I don't want to deal with it. I'd rather have a sign and trade of some sort, but I don't even know if we can do that.
Yeah, another element to this is Daryl Morey. If it was some random GM that didn't have some kind of connection or history with James Harden, it would be easier to think that the GM could be like, hey, this ain't working out. Let's get something done and move on. But it's like, I don't even see Daryl Morey doing that. No matter how bad James Harden plays, I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine Daryl Morey coming to that realization. I think he just believes in James Harden no matter what. And, he would have to look really bad on this if he takes the 1 year and plays, 16 points, 16, 7 and 7, a solid Ben Simmons line for the whole season. Maybe that would sway Daryl Morey to accept that it's kind of over the superstar level James Harden, but that's just another element of it, the love that Daryl Morey has for James. So, it's not. This is the. And I don't. There's nothing I can do. I don't want these streams and these shows to be completely negative, but this is the bleakest future I've seen for the 76ers in a long, long, long time. The tanking was, hey, we're losing because in a couple of years we're going to stack all these draft picks and everything's going to be great. So there was this optimism. There was a light at the end of the tunnel. We have reached the end of the tunnel, and there's no opening. There's a solid wall. There's no light. We are capped out. Daryl Morey has to do magic to fix this situation. He fixed it when he came in with the Al Horford stuff, but then he dug himself another hole with the James Harden thing. Everything they traded, not that Seth Curry and Andre Drummond were game changers necessarily, and Ben wasn't playing anyway, but the things you could have had and the draft picks you could have kept and the players you could have kept to bring in a lesser name than James Harden, but not necessarily lesser play as we witnessed. But I guess hindsight is 20/20, but Daryl Morey has his work cut out for him, man. He really does.
Morey was put in a weird situation. Did he do a great job this year? No, he didn't, because he didn't win around the margins. And when I say that, we didn't go out and get PJ Tucker. We didn't go out and get a dude who is a vet minimum guy, gritty dude who does a lot for a championship winning team. We don't have those guys. A Grant Williams, a dude who just all of a sudden hit 7 threes in Game 7 against Milwaukee. We didn't do that. And, I am a humongous Daryl Morey supporter, but I'm going to knock him for that because he could have done more. He waited and waited for the Harden thing, and he thought that was all it was going to take. And when he got that done, we didn't have any more time to do anything. But hindsight 20/20, yeah, I would have loved to got Tyrese Halliburton. I would have loved to get DeJounte Murray. DeJounte Murray was the guy I was begging from the moment Ben Simmons asked for a trade in July or August or whatever it was that I wanted. But Morey was put in a situation where you have to look at Joel Embiid's window and you have to be okay, as great as DeJounte Murray and Halliburton would be in a couple of years, 5 years from now, 4 years from now with Tyrese Maxey, what does that do for Embiid? And if you go back and watch Embiid's exit interview from the playoffs, he talked about how he basically, I don't really think he has a lot of years left in his career. I don't really think he's going to be playing 34, 35, 36. I just, A, don't think he wants to do that. And B, I don't think he'll be able to do that. So Morey was put in a situation that he has to go out and get somebody that's better right now. And theoretically, James Harden is a very ideal fit. It just did not work because James Harden came in and was great for 4 days, which is insane to me. How can you be that good? I was just going to say,
what do we think changed in the, you know what I mean?
It's so wild. How can you be that good for a week and a half and then don't even shoot the ball in the playoffs?
So it's not like we got duped without seeing it. We got duped and he played well for 4 games and then he fell off. So it's we really got lifted up and slammed on our faces by the basketball gods and what continues to be the just most unlucky franchise in the history of sports. Yeah, it's your boy. Thanks for the support. Booker, CP, and Harden all didn't show up. Chokers. I didn't actually get to watch those games last night. I wanted to check the highlights and stuff. I was DJing a wedding yesterday. I wanted to check the highlights and stuff, but I didn't even get around to it because I was working on this show today. Andre, thanks for the support. Joel went 7 for 24 in Game 6, then called James Harden washed up. Is that weird to you guys? I love and hate Joel Embiid's brutal honesty in his post-game press conferences. Like, part of me has to respect it because he's just going to tell you. He's just going to answer the damn question. You ask the question, he's going to answer it. He has no ties to somebody's feelings. He's just not like that. You could say whatever you want to Joel Embiid. He's not going to get offended. And he's just that kind of guy. He's like, I'm going to say what I think. If you get offended, take it, whatever. He didn't. Well, yeah, he did call him washed up. He said, how did he say it? James is not a superstar anymore, or you thought you were getting superstar James Harden, and he's not that anymore. That was a pretty brutal thing to say, but was it correct? Is the question?
He's the voice of the people, man. He's not. First of all, he never wanted James Harden. He wanted Bradley Beal. He wanted Bradley Beal.
What were those rumors? I don't remember that.
So Daryl Morey went on to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I finally said it the first time. That's literally, DJ, the first time I've ever said it right. He went on that podcast and he basically said, like, there was a guy that they were interested in getting and they were making headway to trade for. And 3 days before the trade deadline, he says something happened in which I couldn't make the deal anymore. And if you go back and look at the timeline, it was when Bradley Beal got season-ending surgery. Like, Embiid wanted Bradley Beal badly. Like, I'm almost positive that there was this internal discussion between Embiid and management, and it was like between Harden and Beal. I could be wrong here, but Embiid was basically saying Beal's the guy. Beal's my guy. And they were trying to make a move for him. Then Beal gets season-ending injury and can't do it.
Yeah, you could. I mean, I guess for the future you could have, but the fan base would have been like, what the hell? You traded for injured. Now we have nobody.
The dude who's literally going to be a free agent in a month.
So that's a possibility, right? I mean, there's money, things that have to happen, all kinds of stuff. All right, so speaking, like, some of these things tie in here. So the top 5 things the Sixers need to do in the offseason. My number one.
It's going to be the same number one as mine, DJ. Say it loud and proud, dude. I already know it. And just so you know, chat, we have not discussed our top 5 together.
It might not be the same.
No, dude.
I think you're thinking of my number 2.
Ooh.
My number 1, and I still have faith that this will happen, is the Philadelphia 76ers absolutely have to fire Doc Rivers.
Dude, I've told you it's number 1.
Oh, okay.
Obviously.
They had it's going nowhere. The lack of development, his refusal to adjust, not just throughout a season, but in the middle of a playoff series. What really, like, put me over the edge, not that I wasn't already over the edge, but when he was mic'd up on ESPN giving those rah-rah pep speeches, it was embarrassing to me. It sounded like he was talking to a middle school basketball team or like a
shut up, dude.
Bunch of 7-year-olds. Like, you have to ask NBA players to give you effort. Come on, guys. He's like, come on, guys. Give us some effort here. Come on, guys. I'm like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? What did you do all season that these guys don't care? What did you do all season that you're noticing now in a Game 6 of the second round that these guys aren't giving you effort? I mean, like, come on, Doc. And then, we talk about this team's lack of depth and all these things. A lot of that has to do with the fact that Doc Rivers just refuses to give anybody a chance and try to develop anybody. I look at guys like Jericho Sims of the New York Knicks. I look at guys like just so many young guys that got a chance, got the 5, 6, 7 minutes on the court, and the coach said, hey, look, this guy can give us some plus minutes, so let's throw him in the rotation. Charles Bassey could have been one of those guys the whole season. Paul Reed, of course, was one of those guys the whole season that didn't get a shot until Doc said, hey, Joel's out. We're going to play my best friend DeAndre Jordan, whether you like it or not. And then a voice came down from probably Josh Harris's yacht phone and said, get him off the court, bro. Like, I don't care what your name is, Mr. Rivers, get him off the court. So he put Paul Reed in there, and it turned out to be the right move, and then he went with him moving forward, and it's another thing that he did that was like, no, and then he's like, okay, you guys are right, I'm going to do that. But I'm not going to admit that I was wrong, though. I'm going to make it sound like it was my idea. There's just too many things. I don't see anything next year happening better than it did this year with Doc Rivers. So, of course, Daryl, sitting next to him in that press conference, said he's going to be back next year. I think there has to be a call from upper management that says, listen, guys, I know you guys have a reputation, and I know you're respected, but I'm in charge here at the end of the day, and get rid of him.
Dude, what's the furthest state from Pennsylvania in the United States of America?
I would say Hawaii.
Landlocked, you dick. California. I'm leading to send that man to the Lakers. Please, for the love of God, Rob Pelinka, hire this man. Doc Rivers is a top 15 coach of all time. He's a championship, purebred winner. He took the Sixers team as far as he could, and we are nothing without Doc Rivers. Now, please, for the love of God, Rob Pelinka, hire this man, because Doc Rivers, like, I don't even want to continue talking about him because he is the absolute worst, dude. The fact that I watched in a game 6, George Niang, Matisse, Thybulle, and Furkan Korkmaz out on the court at the same time. I couldn't believe it. This man has trusted his rotations that clearly have proven time in and time out that they do not work from the first game of the year, and which is they don't work, and he goes right back at him over and over and over and over again because he's just the most arrogant, unattentioned like asshole I've ever come across. Somehow in my lifetime, I found a Sixers coach that I hated more than Brett Brown, and of course, it's the one right after Brett Brown. This guy is the worst. I never want to see him again. He makes everything miserable. He tries so hard to get as many wins as he can in the regular season, but then when the playoffs come around, he just doesn't coach. I hate him.
All right, our number ones are the same. What do you think in the chat? Does anybody in the chat think that Doc Rivers should return next season? I mean, it just doesn't. And also, I don't think Doc Rivers likes coaching here because the fans pay attention too much. You can't get away with stuff here. They're going to, like, if the Sixers come out and, James Harden looks sluggish and they're losing the first game of the season, the fans are going to burn the Wells Fargo Center to the ground. Like, this is not. And I don't mean literally, but it's gonna rain down with boos. This is a city that will turn on its team very quickly when they're over what is happening. And that would just be, national TV, loud boos from your own fan base. It would be embarrassing and ridiculous. And yeah, that's my number one. Andre, thank you for the support. This season was about getting Joel Embiid his MVP. That's why. I mean, what is that? I don't know. I don't know what an MVP really does for anybody at this point. Nobody cares that much.
It makes you a hero in the city of Denver, Colorado.
If your career ends and you don't have an MVP, but you have 3 championship rings, I mean, who gives a damn about an MVP? Like, that's the way I see it. I thought he should have won it. I thought it was weird that Jokic won 2 in a row, because it's really hard for players to win 2 in a row. Like, if you're going by who the best player in the league is, LeBron James should have 11 of them back to back.
I was going to say in a row.
Yeah, so, it is what it is. But I don't think the MVP is that important. Daniel Hilt says only way he stays is if they want to run it back. Don't run it back. Well, Daryl said they're going to run it back. James is coming back. Doc's coming back. Their excuse is what we thought it was going to be was that we didn't have enough time. We tried to throw a team together halfway through the season. We didn't have enough time. And Doc, what he said at that press conference was very insightful. He looked right at the reporters and he said, winning is hard. We're not the only organization. He has such a childish mindset. He's such a deflector. That was like, a 9-year-old getting an F on his math test and coming home and his mom being angry at him and him looking at his mom and saying, well, there's like 5 other kids that got Fs in the class. It's not just me. Do better.
Yeah.
Stop deflecting. Just get up there and say, I wasn't good enough. My guys weren't ready. I need to do a better job. Like, at least, Doug Peterson and I've heard crappy coaches. my whole life at least acknowledge that they weren't good enough. He'll never do that. But anyway, number 2 on my list is trade Tobias Harris. And, Daryl, you got to work magic. I know that. You pulled off the Al Horford thing somehow. You found a team. It happened to be Sam Presti, who was like, hey, we'll do anything for some first-round draft picks. We'll pay Al Horford $109 million and then sit him down for the rest of the season for no reason at all just to get an extra first. I don't even know what our first-round draft picks are at this point with all of the James Harden trade and everything else we've done. But you're going to have to attach something to Tobias Harris's contract to try to move him there. And for those that don't know, for whatever reason you wouldn't know, it's because you need money to get role players on a team to have a deeper bench than we had to, Pat Beverly was talking on TV and then there's rumors, hey, Pat Beverly's basically saying he wants to come to Philly. You need money to get these kind of players, the dog kind of players we talk about, PJ Tuckers of the world, things like that. And we don't have any money, and Tobias Harris is making, Michael Jordan money, averaging 17 points per game. I love Tobias Harris as a person. I think he's a great third or fourth option on a championship team, but you can't have that contract. And a rumor that popped up yesterday was Colin Sexton and Kevin Love for Tobias Harris and Shake Milton. I guess. What are your
who gives a shit, man? Why not? Let's just make every trade until we until it accidentally works.
That's the Sam Hinkie way. That's the Sam Hinkie way. Let's just make all
Embiid out of that. Why not? Just let it fly, dude. It's not going to make Cleveland any better. My number 2 is very, very similar. It's strictly to clear cap space. Because this offseason, for me, I just don't believe that we have a shot creator yet. So I want to go out and get Bradley Beal. I want to go out and scour the market for Zach LaVine. Is it possible? Probably not. But you know what? Let me live, DJ. Let me believe in something, because I don't believe in anything anymore. Clear cap space, because it's going to lead into a couple more of my points, but the Sixers just need to figure out this roster, because this roster is not it. We have one-dimensional talent that doesn't do anything more than the one thing that they were brought in to do, which is cool in a regular season game until it comes to the playoffs and we have 5 guys who can do 5 particular things, and no one is dynamic. No one can pass the ball. Nobody can play defense, and nobody can shoot the basketball, which happens to be 3 of the most important things on a basketball court. Bring in Bradley Beal, bring in Zach LaVine. They're both athletes. They're both dynamic. They both can do a lot of things on the court, and they can give another team 40 on any given night.
So, that thought is amazing, because we have 3 max players on the team right now, but they're not max players. Their money is max.
That could very quickly change, though, because if you really do look at the situation behind it, all that really takes is if Harden says no on the extension, and if Tobias Harris is traded, all of a sudden we have a shit ton of money. Ramona Shelbourne actually tweeted something this morning or reported something this morning I saw when I was half asleep on Twitter, saying how there are chances the Sixers are going to go for a max spot.
Nice. I mean, it's just when you think of every NBA team has room for 3 max contract players, and we've been trying this thing now for 6 different years, and you think about what it would actually look like to have 3 max players on a team, Bradley Beal, Zach LaVine, and Joel Embiid. Yes, that would be phenomenal, and I don't know what you would have to do to clear that cap space to make that happen.
No shot we get both, but that would be stupid wild, dude.
That would finally be the powerhouse team that was supposed to come out of the process. But they would have to. You're right. If James says no to an extension, a lot of things would have to happen. But also, you can't come back with the same thing next year. You just can't do it. They have to know that. So, I think trading Tobias Harris is part of that. But
yes.
There's moves that have to be made, Daryl. Number 3 on my list.
Also,
go ahead.
I kind of think that Tobias Harris's money is a little bit easier to trade now, because he kind of played pretty well in the playoffs. The last series, different story. He reverted back to his old ways in a few of those games. But, dude, he kind of was pretty decent. So maybe his trade value is not as bad as we think. It's definitely not Al Horford level. I want everyone here to know that trading Tobias Harris, we're not going to get a Danny Green in return. Like, he is a far better player in his career than it looked Al Horford was. Because if you remember, we traded Al Horford to Oklahoma City, and where he did not play at all. Like, he just didn't play. It wasn't until this year that he rejuvenated his career. All right, go number 3, DJ.
By the way, to make everyone feel good, there's now been 3 coaches that were a part of the Sixers organization that have made it to the NBA Finals, and none of them have been the Sixers head coach. So they leave, they win. That's what happens. And players too, the Drew Holidays of the world. Now Al Horford's in the NBA Finals, for crying out loud. Anyway, Mr. Rudy Poo, thanks for the support. Number 2, get two-way players, no more one-dimensional athletes. Get me guys who will be willing to pick up flagrant fouls and technical fouls. That's on my list here. But number 3, you might not see coming. You need to trade Matisse Thybulle before anybody finds out that he can't play basketball.
I love it.
You have to. Because they don't know yet. Other people don't know yet. The other fan bases at least don't know yet. And I don't think any other GMs even know yet. They think he's this amazing all-worldly defender. There was people tweeting about the Sixers losing and saying, why the hell would Matisse Thybulle only have 12 minutes in the game? What are you doing, Doc Rivers? And I'm like, say you didn't watch the game without saying you didn't watch the game. This guy can't play. He can't play. He missed a wide-open layup in the first quarter, and that was it. You're done. I mean, what are we supposed to do here? We need guys that can score. I don't care if you can get 6 interceptions. Go play in the NFL. You have to be able to play basketball. And I just don't think everybody's realized yet how bad he is offensively besides the Sixers fan base. You got to trade him because he has value right now.
Yeah, I mean, his defense isn't even dude, his defense is good. He makes flashy plays, but in reality, his defense is not very great. He is the poster boy for numbers. He is a poster boy number guy. Send him to Denver because that's exactly what they deserve. A guy who looks like he's really good on defense on paper, but in reality, you watch him, he's going to foul a 3-point shooter 3 times a game. He's going to make bonehead plays, and he only gets away with all of his overplaying and overcompensation on defense because of Joel Embiid. So much of his defensive prowess apparently is only because of Joel Embiid being down low and his gravity that he has. Matisse Thybulle is a very good defender on special particular plays, but in the general word of defense, he's not very good because he gets beat. He's always behind the guy with the ball. He's always trying to do some dumb shit, and he fouls him.
You're right. You're right. It's highlight defense. It's things that he does that make when you watch it, you say, oh my God, that was amazing. But then you see that over the course of a whole season or 2 seasons, and you start to realize, yes, that looked awesome what he did that one time in the second quarter, but did it really benefit the team throughout the entire game? No, because on the other end, he can't do anything. And but somebody in the chat said he has no value, and everybody knows he can't play basketball. I disagree. They will take the bait. They will sell it to their franchise. We just got we just got the best defender in the league. We were already this level, like somebody said, Denver. We were already this level. Now we just added the best defender in basketball. Boom, Matisse Thybulle. The fan base goes crazy. They all buy a bunch of Matisse Thybulle jerseys and start watching his highlights on YouTube. They would take the bait, I really think.
The highlights look good too, man. The highlights look good.
What's your number 3?
We need to trade him. My number 3 is get guys who are around the margins. Win the margins, Daryl Morey. Win the margins. Go get a Torrey Craig, a Jay Crowder, a Dog, a Morris brother, a dude who just wants to win so goddamn badly. He wants to do anything it takes to win, and he's going to just get on his own guys. You go back and look at the Miami Heat when they had that huge fight between Jimmy Butler and Eric Spoelstra. And they're oh, the Heat's done. Heat are in the Eastern Conference Finals right now. That's the type of guy. But the Sixers' most success in the process era is Jimmy Butler. That's the last dog we had. We need to go out and get a dude like PJ Tucker, a guy like Pat Beverly, who I tweeted a week ago as soon as the Wolves lost, I said, go get Patrick Beverly. Is he that good? No. Is he probably going to get too many minutes on the Sixers because Doc Rivers thinks he's going to be like an all-star at the age of 34 because he's a veteran and Doc Rivers goddamn loves veterans, probably. But Pat Bev is still a dude who's just going to work so hard, set an example for the young guys, be the guy who people look at to just work as hard as possible, accept your role no matter what it is. The Sixers have not had one of those guys in how long? How long, man? And that's where the Sixers lose a lot of the times. We don't win gritty, tough games because we don't have a guy in the clubhouse who is like just pushing everyone.
Yeah, I agree, man. We don't. We haven't had one of those guys, since Jimmy Butler. We haven't had one of those guys. And guys with heart, guys that are gonna give 110% on the floor every single play. And it was put into perspective when PJ Tucker was shutting down James Harden. And I've said it probably 10 times since then, and I'm going to say it again right now. PJ Tucker is over 5 years older than James Harden. And he made him look like a punk, dude. There was so many offensive rebounds where they were in the same spot. Ball comes off the rim. PJ Tucker ends up 12 feet away with the ball in his hands, and James Harden is still standing under the rim. PJ Tucker, you're not stopping the guy. There's nothing you can do. He's going to try to get that ball as long as he has a beat in his heart. And that's the kind of guys you need on this team. We just have too many guys who stick a hand out and stand there or physically can't get down with offensive rebounding and playing defense like that. And I guess that leads me to my number 4, which is somehow, some way, get rid of every unathletic, sluggish turd of a player on this team that looks like they have cinder blocks for feet, that looks like they're running in quicksand. Get rid of all of them. George Niang, you're fun. You're entertaining. You can hit a 3 once in a while. Please go somewhere else. I'm sorry. I know my boy RB, has your contact information. You guys are friends. I'm sorry, RB. Niang has to get the hell out of here. You can't have him on the floor in the playoffs because he can't guard my 6-year-old or my grandma or my sister or my mom or me or Greg or anybody. You can just blow right by George Niang and score, and it's a plus-minus. You give us 3 points on the other end, you give up 17 on defense. You have to find a balance. Furkan Korkmaz, just please, I'll pay for your plane ticket back to Turkey.
Dude, I'll take off an arm for Furkan Korkmaz to go. I don't care, dude.
You just can't have that many, James looked, James at least this season couldn't guard anybody. Then you add all those guys that can't guard anyone, and Danny Green was slipping as far as his athleticism at 35 years old, 36 years old. So too many guys that can't guard anybody, too many guys that can't get a rebound. You just need athletes, man. You need athletes.
Yeah, number 4 for me is add wing help and add depth. Which, all right, so look, I'm not going to say get rid of Niang because I love George Niang, and I think he's great at what he does. But the problem is, and why we look at a lot of these guys and say they suck, is because we play them too much. I love George Niang, but he's not a guy who deserves 20 minutes a game in the playoffs. Like, if we're giving Niang 8 minutes a game in the playoffs instead, he doesn't have to even play every game, and there's just one game where he goes like 6 of 9 from 3. Like, that's huge. He wins us a game. His job is done. That's all we need.
Yeah,
I like George Niang. But it sucks that we have to be like, get rid of him, because I think it's less about how good or bad they are. It's more about the fact that we just don't have any guys who are reliable first off the bench type of guys. Like, that's the problem. Like, we just don't have a good bench. We never have. And the Sixers need to go out and get athletic. I like Niang, but he's a spot up 4. He's a better Mike Scott. You know what I mean? Like, that's all it is. We just can't give him 20 minutes a game. Furkan Korkmaz should not be in the country anymore. That dude is not good enough to play in the NBA. He's not good enough to play in the G League. He's not good enough to play college basketball. He's probably not good enough to play at my old former Division II Shippensburg University basketball squad either. That man should be back in Turkey playing for his neighborhood team because he is the worst player in the NBA.
The worst player in the NBA.
Not be getting minutes. What?
The worst player in the NBA is Furkan Korkmaz.
Yeah, I hate him. I want him nothing but sadness for that man until he leaves. Remember when he asked for a trade? Yeah, dude, you're the man, Furkan. You're LeBron James, dude. Everyone wants to be like you. Scumbag.
He was mad he wasn't getting on the floor. He thought he was, and he still thinks he's that good. That's the funny part. A lot of people think that his social media posts and the things that he does is because he's funny. I'm starting to think, no, he really thinks he's a superstar because in his home country, he was a superstar, and he's the one that. Yeah, him and Dario Saric are the ones that came over to the NBA. I'm sure there's others, but he thinks he's a star, and that's why I always say I respect his confidence and his quick trigger and his just willingness to shoot the ball whenever he touches it. But it became clear to me that that's simply because he thinks he is Ray Allen in his prime.
I respect nothing about that man. He's utterly horrible at basketball. He has never been good at it. He fooled everyone. He fooled Romp. Romp loves that man. And I just want, I literally, dude, my only one out of the 5 that I genuinely care about is I never want to see Furkan Korkmaz play in a 76ers jersey again. He's genuinely the worst. But the Sixers need to get quicker. We need to have 3-and-D guys. We need to have guys who can run up and down the court, play defense at a relatively okay to high level off the bench, and shoot a goddamn three-pointer off the catch. He doesn't need to be dribbling. He doesn't need to be creating. He doesn't need to be doing what Furkan Korkmaz thinks he can do. He just needs to catch the ball, shoot the ball, play defense, not get blown by.
Yes.
That's all it is.
Exactly. Rob R., thanks for the support. Part of what you guys are saying goes back to Doc Rivers being a terrible development coach. Look at the Celtics. Grant Williams and Peyton Pritchard wouldn't even see the floor in a Doc Rivers team. I completely agree with that. He might be the worst development coach I've ever seen. Name a single player that Doc Rivers found. We people agree pretty much that Tyrese Maxey fell in the draft. He was known at Kentucky as a player that's going to be good in the NBA. That's not a find. That's not a find for Doc Rivers. Played Furkan Korkmaz for 4 months straight, and the guy was like 1 for 270,000 from 3, and just continued to do it. And that's the thing about his lack of development. When you see a guy that bad that you continue to play, but you won't put Isaiah Joe on the floor, explain it to me, Doc. I need to know why. And DeAndre Jordan, if you're playing somebody that bad, but you're refusing to play Paul Reed or Charles Bassey, I need to know why. He doesn't know why. He just I've never seen somebody like just as stubborn and as arrogant and as stuck in his ways as Doc Rivers, and he's just making excuses, and he makes excuses for why we lost and we're going to come back next year. I don't even know why he wants to come back. Why do you want to come back? We hate you. The entire city hates you. The whole Wells Fargo Center hates you. The whole city of Philly doesn't like you. Don't come back, please. Thank you for that, Rob, for fueling another Doc Rivers rant. 309 people still watching, man. Hit the like button. Only 68 likes. That's unacceptable.
I got a question for you.
What's up?
How many more years of mediocrity could you take before saying blow it up?
1 more. Honestly. 1 more.
And what does blow it up mean for you? What does that include?
The Sixers tried to trade Allen Iverson. I believe he was in his 8th season, and something happened that they didn't get it done. They had a trade in the works because they were like, we failed to put great players around this guy. He still has trade value. We got to get a whole bunch of draft picks for him and start over. I don't ever want to get to the point where I say trade Joel Embiid. But if you're going to get to the point where it looks like the process cannot go up anymore, this is the floor, we have plateaued, that would be blow it up. I don't think that would be in 1 more season. I don't think
it'll ever happen.
I don't think it'll ever happen either, and I wouldn't be mad at it never happening. I think he's a player that you just keep trying and trying and trying, and if you fail, you fail. He's a once-in-a-lifetime talent. He's a Dr. J. He's a Shaquille O'Neal. He's a Hakeem Olajuwon.
He also wants to be here. He also wants to live and die here.
Facts.
And I think that's the biggest determining factor. We have shit on Damian Lillard so much for his unnecessary loyalty to a franchise that has not gotten him to be successful. But dude, the Sixers are not much far off. Give it a couple of years and we're going to have the Joel Embiid, Damian Lillard discussion. And I don't know. I don't ever want it to be there, but it sucks because it's already in our minds. And I'm just you know what, whatever.
Well, what do you have to do to have a healthy Joel Embiid playoffs? Because we finally got a healthy Joel Embiid season, and he got hurt right when the playoffs started. And last year he had a relatively healthy season, and then he partially tore his MCL or something like that in the first round of the playoffs against the stupid Washington Wizards. I think I'm right on that. I don't know. People in the chat are saying that he runs out of gas every season, and I don't know if that's true. That might be true. He's 7'2", 280 pounds. Maybe you play him 40 games and say, screw the MVP, screw what everybody thinks.
I was going to say, that's the whole thing. My thing with Doc Rivers, when I said earlier, that Doc is trying to compile as many wins as possible. Like, I just don't believe in playing Embiid 70 games. Like, sure, like, he went for the MVP. He didn't get it. Who gives a shit anymore? Like, don't we want to win, man? Like, I would rather play Embiid 50 games. Give him 50 games. The Sixers can be a 5 seed, whatever. Be like the Cavs were the year they won it all. Wasn't that the year they were like the 4 seed or something, or 6 seed? I don't remember.
Well,
but
when Kawhi,
that's the point, dude. Just be healthy, please. Just be healthy.
When Kawhi came back for the Spurs that one season, he was literally sitting out like every other game, 2 out of every 3 games. They started finding him and stuff because they didn't have like a injury listed. They were just like, this guy got hurt last year, and the doctors said he's 100% healthy, but we don't care what they said. We're not playing him 82 games, so they didn't. I don't know if that was when he was in Toronto either. When he got traded to Toronto, I feel like every year he's air quotes healthy, he doesn't play. He plays about 50 or 60 games. I'm down with that. I'm serious. I don't care. I'll watch Paul Reed half the season. I'll watch Charles Bassey half the season. I'll watch, hopefully not DeAndre Jordan, but somebody else half the season. Hopefully not Paul Millsap. But I would be totally fine with that. Hey, Joel Embiid's playing once a week, guys. Deal with it, because when the playoffs come around, he's going to finally be healthy.
And, like, I don't even want this to be a knock on Embiid, because Embiid is the most talented center since Shaquille O'Neal, and there's no discussion about that. Him and Jokic are the 2 best centers since 2001. But it just sucks, man, because we don't have enough help around the margins for Embiid to be able to not have to dominate and still win the basketball game.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. And at the center position, people that want to say he shot bad or it's his fault, he's not a point guard. He's not a facilitator. He's not a floor general. He's a center. If everybody around the center is doing nothing, Eric Spoelstra is going to defend you with 4 guys, and Nick Nurse is going to defend you with 4 guys, and he can't do it. What's he supposed to do with 3 people on him that the haters want him to step up and lead the team to what's he supposed to do with 3 guys on him? A center needs guards to perform. Shaquille O'Neal had Kobe Bryant. He had Dwayne Wade. He had Penny Hardaway early in his career. You need guys on the perimeter. You're just a center. I know he's great, but he can't just take the ball and make things happen with 3 or 4 guys on him. Game in Toronto where he had like 1 point a couple years ago, I was mad at Ben Simmons for shooting the ball 3 times in 41 minutes. Help the guy out, please.
Like, it's so much easier to dominate the game if you're a forward who is a ball handler like Jason Tatum, or a guard who is like a James Harden or Damian Lillard. Like, it's just easier to be in the modern game of the NBA because you can create more for yourself and you don't need as much help around you. But, like, also, if you look at some of the other guys, like, Joel Embiid is very good at basketball. He is the first center to lead the NBA in scoring since 2001. Like, I know a lot of people like to troll and say he's not that good, or he can't stay healthy, or this guy's better, or that guy's better. But, like, really, truly, at the end of the day, I just want you to be honest with yourself and just appreciate how good he is and what he is doing, because what Joel Embiid is doing has not been done since before a lot of you guys have been born. I mean, I was 5 years old since the last time a center led the NBA in points per game. And Embiid does it so fluently. He's a 3-level scorer. He's a guy who is one of the most unique NBA players of all time, because defensively at the same time, he is just an utter dominant player. Like, there's no way we can seriously sit here and disrespect Joel Embiid. I'm calling you out because, like, this guy is really, really good at basketball. Like, he just was number 2 in the MVP a year after he finished 2 in the MVP. Like, comparing him to some of the greats is not crazy. It's not crazy because of what he's done consistently now for 3+ years. Like, he's really, really special.
I agree. I completely agree. It blows my mind when people want to slander Joel Embiid because he's the only reason we're here. It's the only reason.
Literally the only reason we're here. I mean, dude, that Heat series, we would have been a lottery team without Joel Embiid, and that's a fact.
Yeah, we got swept by the Heat without Joel. He comes back, we win 2 in a row, he gives us life again, and didn't play great in Game 6, but everybody else stunk up the joint, so it is what it is.
You want to hit it with number 5?
In Game 5, I saw him shoot a knuckleball. Like, obviously, it was that thumb injury that was affecting his jump shot. And then he's got the face, and he can't bang down low because guess what? You take a shoulder to the side of the face. Maybe the doctors are telling him, like, yo, you can play, but don't be going down there banging around because you're going to get seriously hurt. We don't know, man. He definitely played different when he came back with those injuries.
I also want to say the whole stats and no rings argument. Like, if you really, 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 really look at it, how many players in the NBA, all-time greats, like how many of them don't have rings? Like, are you now discrediting Allen Iverson? Are you now discrediting some of the greatest players of all time, like Charles Barkley, who is one of the greatest players to ever play the game? I mean, it doesn't turn them into a top 5 ever, but I don't think DJ and I are saying Embiid is a top 5 player of all time. Like, I just think we're trying to say that right now in this generation, when he retires, he's going to be looked at as one of the best centers that played during his era. And at the end of the day, that's the goal. You want to be the best player to play during your era. And, maybe it trickles down to the next era because that's how good you were. Not many guys win NBA championship rings. That's what makes LeBron James going to 8 straight goddamn finals is so impressive.
Seriously. That is what made somebody in the chat called me a young casual. First of all, I just want to say thank you for calling me young. I would bet that I might be older than you. The camera makes me look young, so shout out.
I think he was talking about the chat. No,
he said you guys are definitely some young casuals. Joel Embiid can't stay healthy, and he's terrible, basically, is what he's saying. So.
Oh, shit. Never mind.
Yeah, we're young casuals, man. That's awesome.
I just had my 15th birthday, so thank you.
I love being a young casual. So what was my number 5? My number 5 was for the 27th year in a row, please, for the love of God, get basketball players on the team. Players that can do more than one thing at a time. Players that can shoot, and if the shot is not open, they can maybe dribble the ball. They can maybe drive to the rim and finish. They can maybe take 2 dribbles and make a pass.
Whoa.
I know, it's like so crazy playing the game your whole life. You see these players all over the place, obviously not at an NBA level, but it just seems like playing basketball usually entails 3 different things: shooting, dribbling, and driving and finishing and things like that. And we just keep getting these players that can do one thing. They can either play defense and literally can't play the sport of basketball, or they can shoot a 3-pointer and can't guard a 3-legged dog. I just need guys that can play ball, man. Like, look at the Memphis Grizzlies. Look at some other teams. There's so many guys that can just get a bucket.
Yeah, it's also the culture that they have that the Sixers don't have. My number 5 is figure out the James Harden dilemma. As I've stated in the beginning of this stream and waited for number 5 to come back, call back. There you go. It's the fact that, like, we're in a very difficult situation. James Harden either picks up his extension and has a phenomenal season, really goes back. It's 25 a game, 23 a game. The Sixers are happy. Everyone's happy. We still do not win because we're the Sixers. And then we say, you know what? Let's sign him to the extension. He's back. He's healthy. The hamstring's good. And then Harden takes it off again because it's no longer an extension year. It's no longer a contract year. We're paying him $240 million for the next 5 years, and he's not going to be good for 3 of those years. Or he has a down year in this contract year, and then we just leave him, and he just goes somewhere else. And at the end of the day, we get nothing for Ben Simmons. Or we sign him to an extension now, less than the max contract, but still a lot of money, in which that probably he doesn't play up to. Like, it is a lose kind of win situation, and it's not good.
Would you ever see James Harden taking less money?
I've thought about that, but I think that if maybe he just has a bad year next year and there's not a single team offering him a max deal. He has to.
People don't realize that a lot of people don't realize James Harden he has the same issues that Ben Simmons has, although a better basketball player and not entirely afraid to shoot. He absolutely loves being a celebrity. He loves the lifestyle that he lives. I was just reading an article about a lawsuit that he had in Houston, not saying it was true at all, by the way, but just some details in there because Moses Malone's son accused James Harden of having him jumped in a strip club because he made a Facebook post slandering James Harden for charging children $300 for a basketball camp. And he thought that it should be free for everyone. I don't know the intangibles of that or whether you think something should be free. How could you have a camp with 50,000 kids? Either way, I'm saying he lives that life. I'm not saying he lives a life of getting people jumped. I'm saying he's always in a strip club. He's always in a nightclub. He's always out. The story was he was in a party bus with some of his rapper friends headed to that same strip club, and that's where this guy was. And this guy got jumped by James Harden's friends, and he put two and two together and said James had him jumped. Either way, I'm just saying he's always around strip clubs, nightclubs, rappers, celebrities. He loves that lifestyle. He's not going to change it. He's absolutely not going to change it. He's not going to go work out, eat a salad, and go to bed at 9 o'clock. He's not going to do it.
And that's why he's never going to succeed. That's why he's never going to succeed. There's a comment in this section that says Harden is 32, not 40. He hasn't had major injuries. There's no reason he can't be what he was in Brooklyn 2 years ago. I've never read something that I've disagreed with more because if you watch James Harden's body of work, if you see James Harden's career trajectory, if you see James Harden's body, if you see James Harden and the way he's given up on teams in the past over and over and over again, the fact that he folds when it matters most, James Harden is the definition of somebody who will never be what he used to be. Simply because his body won't let him, because he never cared about his body. He loves basketball a lot. He works on basketball a lot, but he doesn't work on the stuff that is the margins type of stuff. Look at that. That's the theme for today, the margins.
The margins.
He doesn't do what you have to do around the margins. What makes LeBron James so fucking good is that he puts millions of dollars into his body to stay at peak performance despite being 49,000 years old. LeBron James is still the definition and the epitome of consistency because him and Tom Brady are the all-time greats because they put in millions of dollars to keep care of their body. Chris Paul even is doing keto and this and that and this. And I'm not even saying keto's good because it's really not for everyone if you're thinking about it. But I will say those guys are putting a lot of effort and money into their body, and James Harden has never done so. So even if he decides to do so now, it's probably too late because he's already going to be 33 years old, and father time is the one thing that nobody can outrun. It's already caught up to James Harden. He's never going to be what he used to be. Stop expecting it.
Yeah, the future is bleak. I don't see him accepting less money. I think he likes his money too much. He likes being, not that he's not rich right now, but he likes his income is basketball, and he needs to get another max contract to continue living the life that he lives. I don't see him taking less money, but or unless he comes to the realization, like, look, I'm not going to get a max contract. Like you said, if he opts into the 1 year, we pay him a ridiculous $47 million. He stinks it up again, and then he doesn't get a max offer from anybody. Maybe he accepts that he's not worth it anymore.
If there's any team that's dumb enough to sign him to a max extension, it's the Philadelphia 76ers. That's just literally, it's what it is. And look, I see people saying Harden's only been out of shape for 2 years now. What are you talking about? That's a lot of years, man. How many years in LeBron James's career can you say he was out of shape? It doesn't work like that, dude. He's 33 now. He can't just go back to what he used to be. It's no coincidence that he's getting older and he's getting worse very quickly.
Another thing in the comments, somebody said, you guys are slandering Harden now, but you were all excited when you first got him. Like, I don't understand why people me too. I can never understand why people on the internet and YouTube don't understand how you react to what's happening. Or just react to what's happening. And he played great. What were we supposed to be? James Harden sucks. He just dropped a 30-point triple-double. He sucks. We thought he was great. Then he started to suck, and we were like, oh, James Harden sucks now. Sorry. Like, I just don't understand why you're not allowed to react to what you see. You have to make a take.
Numbers.
You have to make a take, and you have to stick to it for the rest of your life. It doesn't make sense.
And the numbers also have shown that the pick and roll statistics between Harden and Embiid are among some of the greatest numbers of all time, given it's a small sample size, but still. But like exactly what you said, DJ, what are we supposed to do? Be like, oh, it's the downfall is coming. Like we as Sixers fans don't know what it's like to be happy for a long period of time. So when we have an opportunity, a small slither chance of being happy for a moment, we're going to fucking take it, guys. And dude, if you're going to say Harden's impacted by COVID, so is Embiid, dude. Embiid got hit really, really hard this year for 2 weeks, and he came out and had an MVP season. Enough with these goddamn excuses, man. James Harden's fan base is exactly like he is. It's just excuse after excuse after excuse, and I'm tired of it.
I have to remind myself.
Have some accountability, dude. Have some accountability. Admit that you messed up and you weren't good enough and be better the next year. I hate that shit. I hate it.
I have to remind myself that the chat and comments on YouTube are like restaurant reviews, and people a lot of times only type things when they're upset. So, 285 people watching, but there's 4 people that are upset that are typing away in the chat, and that's what we're reading. So you just have to continue to remind yourself that it's not everyone that's watching, hopefully. Because I have more faith in you guys' basketball knowledge than that. I mean, now we're going as far as to say James Harden was impacted by COVID. He was very good in Brooklyn 2 years ago. You guys were just on his nuts. Game 4. Yeah, he had a 31-point game, and we won.
I was not as well. I was not. A dear friend of mine texted me, Harden's back. I said, he's not back. Just give it another day. He's not back. Harden doesn't have it anymore, dude. He's not consistent. I don't believe in him.
Rasan, I would add you in, but I honestly have to leave in like 10 minutes. I just don't have time for it. I want you to come on, though. Trust me. And listen, I'll hit you up on Instagram, and we'll have you on the show tomorrow. Let's do it tomorrow if you got time. I'm serious. I can't wait to hear what you have to say. I think the people need this debate to go down. So I'll hit you up, and we'll have you on the show tomorrow.
It's also not that James Harden had a bad year. I get it. Sometimes shots don't go in. He didn't shoot great. That's not what I'm talking about. But it is the obvious, visible signs of regression. That's what it is. Like you have to understand the difference between a bad year and a physical regressed year.
And Rasan said, I want Greg Melly on the show too because he's talking a lot of smack.
Rasan, I'm there, buddy. Just want to know it's all love, dude.
But the funny thing is, it's not talking smack. We're giving our opinion. You're taking it as talking smack because you love James Harden so much you don't like to hear the negative. It's okay to admit that he stunk it up. He shot the ball 2 times in an entire second half. What's your excuse? I'll save it for tomorrow. I can't wait.
Holy shit, dude.
Daniel Hill.
Harden wasn't in shape. That's not physical regression. It's called not being in shape. What the hell do you think that is, dude?
I got to stop reading before I bang my head off the wall. Daniel Hill, thank you for the support. Before we get out of here, do you think Harden re-aggravated his hamstring injury running the stairs? Yeah, I think that was dumb. I think he slipped on a bag of popcorn. That
he just finished.
We're $1 million athletes. There's much better ways to get some cardio in than running concrete stairs in an arena. We get it. You were trying to prove everyone that you have a heart. That you want this more than anything in the world. Sadly, the truth always comes to light, and Game 6 showed us what you really wanted, and that was to stand around and not do anything and get paid for it. You have a lot more similarities to Ben Simmons than I ever realized. But, yeah. Taj, thank you for the support also on the Super Chat. And, Taj, again, man, Super Chat. I think you're trying to type a comment there. So I'll wait, Taj, if you just want to type a comment in the chat, and I'll read it. For your Super Chat. Thanks for the support on that, by the way. Thank you to everyone that supports the channel, man. Thanks to Greg for coming on. We needed this, man. We needed to get some things
I let it out, man. Therapy.
Dave Drucker says, stop being emotional and look at the facts. I don't know what that means. J.O.
Where's that?
32 isn't old, but every player ages differently, especially when you don't focus on your body. Yeah, exactly.
J.O.
I hope that wasn't. I agree with that, J.O. 32 can be very old if you don't do anything. I'm not an NBA player, but I'm 35, and my left knee hurts right now. It's just the way that it is.
Right as we speak, it's hurting.
Yeah, it's a young man's game, dude. I'm taking up golf because I can't get back into basketball because I think I'm going to tear my ACL, both of them at the same time. So
just
I have
jelly.
to just have the memories of all the great times that I had playing the game, and I have to go play golf.
Wait, so that being said, like, do you have any quick thoughts on Danny Green?
I mean, he's not going to be back. Like, he's going to take him a year to recover, right? And by that
Do you think
time,
he's ever going to come back? I think he might just call it quits, man.
I think he loves playing the game, and I think he still gave something to the game this year. And I mean, it would take a lot. If I was 36 and made all the money I made in the NBA and had 3 rings and tore my ACL, I'd probably not come back. I'd probably call it a career.
I think he's done, man. But Danny Green, winner, a winning guy. I loved him on the team. He was an awesome acquisition. He played great. We got him for Al Horford. Seriously, a great guy on the team. I loved everything about him except his voice and his podcast. And every time he opened his mouth and talked about shit going on in the locker room where I was just like, dude, how about we maybe don't tell people this? But on the court, I loved him.
Daniel Hilt, not gonna lie, I'd love to be on the show tomorrow. So yeah, I'll open the Discord tomorrow, and we'll have a whole big James Harden debate, man. It'll be fantastic. Can't wait. Glenn Rivers, sorry for missing the super chat. Preach it, brother. I have no time for you become the person by the people you choose to surround yourself with. If you hang with losers, etc. I don't know if rappers and celebrities are losers per se. I think they live a life because they don't have to be in shape to play basketball. I mean, Lil Baby just has to make another rap album. He doesn't have to play a game, so he can live that life. You're an NBA player in the middle of your career. You have to take care of your body. You're not a rapper. So he wants to hang with celebrities and rappers until 5 a.m, and it's taking a toll on him. Eventually that happens. You can do that when you're 25, 26, 27, 28, 32.
Brandon.
The difference between 28 and 32 when you don't do anything in the offseason is a lot. Just
Hey,
is.
Brandon. Earlier, Brandon, when I compared him to LeBron James, you said he's not LeBron James. But now you say Michael Jordan was out all night gambling before most playoff games. No one cares if you produce. So now we're comparing him to Michael Jordan. So what I'm saying is they're a little bit different, right? The thing is, you say if you produce. What James Harden produced in the second half was 0 for 2 from the field. What Michael Jordan produced was 6 championships. Let's never compare James Harden to an all-time great player again.
Right, and again, if James Harden came out and gave you Michael Jordan numbers, guess what? Nobody would be saying anything about what he does in the offseason or what he hanging out strip club. Nobody cares if you're on the court winning games. If he showed up and gave us a 25-point game and we win game 6, no, hang out in strip clubs all you want. I'll pay for you to go to the strip club. I will, not that I have to. You're a billionaire, but I'm just saying I would love for you to be in a strip club if that benefits you and you come out and produce. When you don't produce, that's when people start talking about these things. So why would people even talk about what Michael Jordan did? He won 6 titles.
And James Harden has produced some of the worst playoff games in the history of the NBA. And some of the most pivotal opportunities. And look, I'm not even a James Harden hater. I'm really not. But I've always been honest about who he is as a player. And he's just not the guy, man. He's just not the guy. Maybe 3 years ago, he's the guy. Probably, honestly. But he is sure as hell not the guy anymore because he's not the player he used to be. I'm not going to say washed because that would mean he sucks because he's still a very, very good basketball player. But he is nowhere near what he used to be. And he never, ever will. The quicker you understand that and realize that and face the truth, the happier you will be with him.
Yeah. And somebody in the chat says Allen Iverson was in the clubs too. I mean, the guy dropped 48 points against the Lakers in the NBA Finals, and he was 5'10". Again, hang out in the clubs all you want.
It caught up to him too. Like even when the Sixers got rid of him, it caught up to him really fast.
Yeah,
in
that's
Denver.
Yep.
His stint in Detroit was terrible. His stint in Memphis was like a week long. Yeah. Dude, James Harden and Allen Iverson I've always compared the two. Harden is the more modernized version of AI. It's going to be the same exact career trajectory. They're going to fall off a cliff, and James Harden already has.
You're not wrong about that at all. Iverson wasn't dropping 40-point games when he was 33 years old, 34 years old. So yeah, it catches up to you. It is what it is. People are calling the show, but I'm not going to take calls today because I got to go. I got things to do. I got to get up out of here. But thanks, Greg, for coming. Thank you all for being here.
Yes,
this
sir.
has been our top 5 things the Sixers need to do this offseason. Yeah, hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to Greg Melly's YouTube channel. I'll put the link in the description, or just search Greg Melly on YouTube, man. What are you doing? Glenn Rivers, one more, says, I don't give a crap about the clubbing. It's hanging out with people who get into fights publicly. If you need to handle business, be smart about it. I don't disagree with that.
Life advice, guys.
Ray Lewis type stuff, man. All right, we out. Peace.
Peace.